So we're back in the kitchen. Today I'm going to be going through 10 things I really wish I knew before I started my fitness journey, and just throughout the whole thing, to be honest. I'd have saved myself so much time and effort, more importantly, if I'd have known these things, and I just felt like it'd be good to share these with you and help you if you're struggling with any of these things that I mention, and just clear a few things up as well. There's so many myths when it comes to fitness and a lot of fads. I tried to order these, but I just felt like they're too broad and mean different things to different people, so I just want to do them in no particular order, and I'm just going to jump straight into it. Before we do that, if you could hit this video with a like, it really supports my channel and is very much appreciated. So I have wrote some notes out. I would recommend getting a drink, and also your notes on your phone. In fact, you might be watching it on your phone, a notepad, a laptop, and you know, you might want to jot some of these down. These are serious game changers, let me tell you. So the first one I'm going to mention is, don't compare your physique to someone else's or try and imitate someone else's diet or what you think is their diet to your own. We all have completely different body structures, lifestyles, also total energy expenditure on a daily, like our TDEE is very different. So when I first started out my fitness journey, I remember going on this fitness girl's Instagram, and she wrote a caption about how she's lost weight and what she's done, and it was just explaining like her calories. I took that as very much, okay, I'm gonna copy her calories. Didn't have a clue about macros at this point. I'm gonna look like this girl and have the same physique as her. Obviously that did not work. After 2-3 weeks I was like, what's happened? I think I'd actually put on weight, to be honest, and that's purely because you don't know what that person's daily expenditure is. Like, they could be doing 30k steps as well as a 2-hour workout. So I would never ever advise to go off someone else's calories. It's really detrimental because we all have very different activity levels. Like during the day, if you're sat at your laptop most of the day, or if you're on the move, walking about, taking your dog out for multiple walks, we all have very different energy expenditures. In with that point, we do all have different genetics. I, for one, have quite smaller hips. I remember when, you know, like the Kim Kardashian phase has been around, wider hips with massive, huge bums. You can create illusions of these kind of things, like illusions of a smaller waist, illusions of wider hips, by building up certain muscle groups and areas. The second thing to mention is learn the science behind weight loss and muscle gain before doing anything. It saves you so much time, so much effort, so much time in the gym. Just overall, learning that has changed my life. Something that's probably my most frequently asked question is, how can I get abs whilst growing muscle on my legs and glutes? I've personally found it easier to do the two things separately, so a cutting phase and a bulking phase. That's just how I like to do it and what works for me. You can get lean around, grow muscle, but it just takes a long time and is a lot more difficult. But by simply educating yourself on those things just saves so much time and energy that you put into your workouts, and you'll get much easier, simpler results. There's no secret to it. It is just basic biology behind both the things. And the next one is, no one is looking at you or judging you. I really wish I'd have thought this over and over when I started out in the gym. I used to get so anxious when I first stepped foot in there, and I felt like the whole gym was just staring at me because I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. People are so invested in themselves, and generally in the gym everyone's there to improve themselves, so you know, people might glance over for a few seconds, but they're just going to go back to their own business, and you are going to grow in confidence the more you step foot in that gym, put yourself out of that comfort zone, and it's just going to, you know, blossom from there. Next one, I really wish I could just go and tell my younger weightlifting self, is proper form is always more important than racking on the weights. Sadly, I had to go through an injury to realise this, so definitely don't make that mistake of loading up your barbell and just being ridiculous. I really recommend progressive overloading, but just make sure you can perform the rep with proper good form before loading up with more and more. If you're ever struggling with your form, or you feel like you're unsure if you're doing things correctly, I would just always say go on YouTube and just watch how to properly like perform a movement, and just really make sure you've got the form right. The next one, and probably one of the most important ones, is you cannot spot reduce fat. This is something that I was stuck on for such a long time. I was doing crunches like every day a few years back and looking in the mirror every day at my stomach like, where are my abs? Where are they? Are they going to appear tomorrow or what? Not only my abs, it was my inner thighs. Like when I first started out at the gym, I would be on that adduction machine or doing any form of like inner thigh work to try and get a thigh gap. Isn't it weird how like the times change now? Like that trend has completely shifted. Only by training under a calorie deficit and consuming fewer calories than you are burning can you lose body fat. So with that as well, you can't pick and choose where you lose fat from, and this is where genetics come into it, because we all, like I mentioned earlier on, we store fat in different places. I for one seem to carry more fat in my arms than like my back, which is just quite random. Like we're all different. Mason, he stores like a lot of his fat in his back. So just realizing that saved me so many crunches. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing to build up your core. Your core is such an important part to train. Don't waste your time with doing like anything that says targeted like inner arm, or I don't know, you like this part of your arm here. Just a calorie deficit where you lose overall body fat. Then the next one is realizing you can't get big and bulky from lifting weights. It takes a lot, especially for a female, to put on a lot of muscle mass. You would have to be eating in a massive surplus. For me, progressive resistance training has created a much leaner physique and appearance on a whole. Something else to consider is the more muscle mass you have, the more calories you burn throughout exercise and also like during recovery too. I really wish I knew all this like when I first started out, because it would have saved me, oh my god. To create a leaner physique and lose some body fat, the best things that you can do is progressive resistance training mixed with a calorie deficit, plenty of sleep, and of course like nutrient dense food. And then the next one is just to make sure your goals are for you. Now this might sound a bit strange. Over the years my goals like used to change so much. Like one week I'd be like, right, that's it, I don't mind a bit of extra chub, I want to grow this bum of mine, and I would be like all in, like right, eating all the foods. And then the following week I would have felt really gross from whatever I did the previous one, and I'd be like, right, no, I need abs now, and I'd go on like a million runs. And I was just kind of swapping and changing, and more so going with the trends rather than doing what was actually right for me. And ultimately that didn't get me any results. I wasn't happy doing that or healthy, and I just felt very confused. If you're someone at the moment who's like in limbo or you don't really know what you want, I would just say to sit down, take a few deep breaths with a big piece of paper. This is always what I do whenever I feel like overwhelmed or just like up in the air or not feeling like I'm getting anywhere. Breaking stuff down and asking yourself, why do I want this? Like, why do I actually want this? What's it going to make me feel? You're not going to feel any different with a leaner or a bigger physique. It comes from within, I've found personally, and I've really just work on finding your why. Do you want to feel healthier, be healthier within yourself, and you know, be able to live longer? Or just make sure you've got your why, and that's going to give you a lot more motivation and a reason to actually what you're doing, and you'll just feel a lot clearer. Something that I did touch on in my fitness journey is undereating. Now this can be such a hindrance, and I really didn't understand or realise that for a long time. I would say I underate completely, and when I first started out like looking at calories and macros, I thought, right, I'm just going to put myself on really low calories and just be able to not be hungry and just get over it and still lose weight, because that was my goal. But over restricting calories in order to lose weight can really backfire. I know it did for me. If your body's getting fewer calories than it needs in order to function, it goes into like this conservation mode where it grabs hold of as much energy as it can get, and generally will go for like your proteins in your body, which is what helps maintain your muscle mass, and use that protein in your muscles as the main energy source, which is really not what you want. Since muscle helps you burn more calories when you are resting, it's really going to sabotage and be detrimental to any weight loss or muscle gain. So yeah, so that's that one, which is quite interesting. There is a lot to that one. The next mistake I made was using the scale as an indicator of my progress. This varies for like different styles of training. Like if you're doing a purely cardio based training program. A little bit more different when you're following a resistance training program. The number on the scale doesn't take into account like your body composition, your lean muscle mass, and also your fat mass. So there's a lot of like different considerations. And in the start, like I got so caught up on like the number on the scales, although it is a brilliant indicator, but there's just so many like variables that go into it. So the next mistake, or something that I didn't really understand when I was a complete beginner in the gym and with my nutrition, is seeing a massive amount of change and then it kind of slowing down and like feeling like I wasn't progressing from there. This is mainly for if you're someone who's a complete beginner in the gym and also like complete beginner with like looking at good nutrition. All that happens here is obviously your body being shocked with a lot more exercise than what you're normally used to and burning a lot more calories than you have done for, you know, potentially the first time in your life. So say if one of your goals is weight loss, you'll probably notice quite a lot within the first few weeks and then it might sort of slow down. So that's where your body is adapting and it'll be a bit harder to see results that were initially like the first few weeks. And then from that point, you just need to make sure you are increasing your repetitions and your load or changing your volume around. Take like a log of things or like measurements, make sure you're tracking your workouts, and I think that's super helpful and definitely something that I wish I'd known, but I feel like a lot of people go through. So they're the main things I wanted to cover. I didn't want to go off a complete tangent because there's just so much to all these little things and so many ins and outs. There's probably a lot more mistakes that I did make, but let me know if you did enjoy this style of video. I would love to do any more like this, but just let me know in the comments what you would like to see next, or if there's anything you want me to like elaborate on. If you haven't already, I would love you to stick around and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.